Sup, y'all? Welcome to Rise of the Western World, Unit 2, Part 3. Our planet is a globalized world connected through commerce and technology, but it certainly wasn't always this way. And of all the countries in the world, the one that truly began a globalized empire was one of the most unlikely. And to begin this investigation, we ask, why did Portugal begin the Age of Exploration? And why didn't they dominate the New World? So, now we will look into the Age of Discovery. By the mid-1400s, there were many wealthy and sophisticated regions in the world. China, India, Japan, the Aztecs, the Italian states, and so on. Yet it would be the societies of the Iberian Peninsula who would bring about a new era of discovery and exploration. And to understand why Portugal was the first state to establish a truly global empire, we will look to the 5 themes of geography. The first theme to investigate is location. And we've already looked at absolute location, which highlights the geographical position of people and things on the Earth's surface. However, we also need to understand why certain things are located where they are, and how this affects the natural order of things. To understand this, we consider relative location. Portugal is situated along the Atlantic Ocean, which is significant because it was the Mediterranean Sea that was the focus of European commerce at that time, which explains why the Italian states were generally very wealthy. Seeing as Portugal has a long coastline, yet no direct connection to the Mediterranean, it motivated them to look to the Atlantic for new sources of trade and wealth. To understand another reality of relative location, we can take a quick look at Bohemia. Even if it was the wealthiest kingdom in Europe, which it wasn't, it never could have engaged in massive overseas expeditions, because it was landlocked. It would have been a virtual impossibility for them to explore the seas in any capacity. Another important theme is human-environmental interaction. Because of their advantageous location, the Portuguese possessed several well-developed port cities, such as their capital Lisbon and Porto, just to name a couple. Portugal had a maritime history and culture suited to oceanic travel. The next theme to consider is region. Geographers often divide the world into regions, which are areas that share similar characteristics. Consider this analogy. In history, we divide time into eras, ages, or periods. For example, the Age of Discovery, which was an era of exploration, commerce, and conquest that began in the early 15th century and continued into the 17th century. So, in history, years that share common characteristics are divided into eras, whereas in geography, areas that display common characteristics are divided into regions. Now, Europe was a core region, meaning it was rich in technology, scholarship, and wealth. Even though the Portuguese were not particularly rich, they benefited from the general European technological and economic advancement since the time of the Renaissance, much more than, let's say, the kingdoms in Africa. However, Europe and Portugal, of course, was still recovering from the ravages of the Black Death, and since so many peasants had died, the nobles searched for new sources of wealth, and the Atlantic offered a route to Africa where conquest and trade could offer new opportunities. Another theme is movement, which refers to the mobility of people, goods, and ideas across the surface of the Earth. In this example, we'll look at the term distance decay, which essentially means that the greater the distance, the less the interaction. Now, many European goods made their way into Europe through the Italian city-states, through the Mediterranean Sea. By the time many goods had made their way to Portugal, either over land or through the Strait of Gibraltar, their cost had increased sometimes dramatically. Likewise, the Italians, for example, did not have the motivation to explore because of their location in the hub of European trade along the Mediterranean. And finally, we look at the theme of place, which refers to the uniqueness of a location or the uniformity of 2 or more different locations. The Iberian Peninsula had been invaded by the Muslim Empire of the Moors from North Africa beginning in the 8th century. However, by the 12th century, Portugal had become an independent kingdom once again, through warfare. And by the early 15th century, the Portuguese embarked on somewhat of a crusade of their own, and besieged North Africa to spread Christianity, and of course, to gain wealth. Their long history of domination by Muslims, in some part, drove them into the age of exploration.
Okay? History. This is for the gang. How you doing over there? Not too good.
All right, Bubble Boy. Let's just play. Who invaded Spain in the 8th century?
That's a joke. The Moors.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry, it's the Moops. The correct answer is the Moops.
Moops? Let me see that. That's not Moops, you jerk. It's Moors. It's a misprint.
I'm sorry, the card says Moops.
It doesn't matter. It's Moors. There's no Moops.
It's Moops.
Moors.
Moops.